Her name is Marilyn Parker, and she spoke at a tea party down in her home state. She's going to come up. Let me tell you this, she's a fireball. You're going to love it. And I'll introduce her now. Why don't she come on up, Marilyn?
I'm short. I'm here today because I'm a mama bear whose cubs are threatened. 10 years from now, I do not want to have to apologize to my children that I understood, I knew what the consequences were going to be, and I did nothing. I am watching my country disintegrate right before my very eyes. I'm here today because I am married to an intelligent, hardworking, tax-paying small business owner. I'm here today because I am a Christian. I know that my country was framed on Judeo-Christian principles. I am tired of liberal special interest groups trying to take God out of my country, out of Washington, out of the military, out of our public school systems, universities, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, out of the Pledge of Allegiance, off of our currency. For the first time in history, we are no longer a Christian nation, states Barack Obama. I'm here today because I am a political geek. My friends tell me that I am obsessed, and I tell them I do not know how you can afford not to be. I'm a firm believer that if you do not know history, you are doomed to repeat it. The erroneous excuse that this economic debacle was caused by the failed Bush policies is pure political manipulation. This economic debacle was created with a tenet of socialism. In 1999, liberal special interest groups like ACORN took the Community Reinvestment Act, put it on steroids, took it to Congress, and lobbied Congress to force banks to give out loans to low-income, no-income, high-risk borrowers. The banks, being conservative in nature, refused. So these activists went back to Washington. They lobbied again for Fannie and Freddie to back up these loans. And they did. Weirdly enough, Bill Clinton signed off on the deregulation. Congress was warned in 2006 with the McCain-Hagel bill that if there was an economic downturn, which in this case happened to be the slowdown in the housing industry, which was 15% of the GDP and $4 a gallon gasoline, there would be an economic disaster. Fannie and Freddie used $150 million that for all practical intents and purposes was taxpayer money to target 17 Republican senators that were up for re-election. The bill died. These are the toxic assets on the books of the banks, sold all over the world by Fannie and Freddie. Barney Frank is still in Washington. A tenet of socialism had begun. The government trying to socially engineer where it did not belong, just like they are trying to do now, except exponentially 10 times worse. $12 trillion worth of debt over the next 10 years is not a stimulus, it is an agenda. Never let a good crisis go to waste, says Hillary Clinton and Rahm Emanuel, and believe me, they haven't. They crammed over a 1,000-page bill down our throats in less than 11 hours that no one had time to read while they took off on their government-paid jets and flew to Italy. That's what I call transparency. $50 million to study a field mouse in San Francisco, $200 million for STD research, $4 billion to Acorn, $900 million to Hamas, $6 million for a turtle tunnel, paybacks to unions, paybacks to AIG by Christopher Dodd, extensions for unemployment instead of doing what they needed to do right then, right now, right then, right now. Slash taxes, slash spending, and no deficits. They were too busy planning the takeover of our country, tripling the size of government. They want to control how much you make, what size home you own, how much energy you use to heat your home, what size car you drive, how much fuel you use, where you send your children to school, what liberal rewrite of history they are taught, how your 15-year-old daughters can get an abortion without your consent at taxpayers' expense, force you into a union with card check, what health care you are allowed, and I'm just getting started. Most of this non-stimulus money will not be spent for 2 to 3 years, designed that way to insidiously give the economy a facelift just before the next election. Many economists have come to the conclusion that we would have been better off if the government had given $30,000 to each and every taxpayer and let the people bolster the economy, not the government picking and choosing which businesses succeed and which ones fail. Instead, our children are going to be walking around with "owned by China" tattooed to their forehead. We now have government motors and a UAW-owned Chrysler. Secured bondholders were forced to accept 29 cents for every dollar on their investment, while favored unsecured creditors received over 70 cents per dollar. Unions just recently cut pay and benefits, and they have no experience in actually running a business. It is always liberal agenda that government knows more than you do. You need them through massive, expensive government programs to take care of you so that you will in turn vote for them and keep them in power. They want to make you dependent, enable you, and the result will be that you are disabled. Massive government and trillion-dollar spending breeds corruption just by its sheer size, and oversight becomes difficult. But that's okay, because they have their friends in the government-run media that don't report, underreport, misreport, and distort. I now firmly believe that this president and his corrupt and impulsive administration has absolutely no concept of Economics 101. The other belief is that they are radical socialists. They know exactly what they are doing, and they do not care if America is bankrupt for decades to come. My assessment is that they are a deadly combination of both.